students, let us now consider classification during this lesson. We want to classify fruits. So there are false fruits that develop from other parts such as the calyx, corolla, and receptacle. So that such fruits that develops from these other parts are called the false fruits. Then we have and examples include apple and pineapple, which develop from an inflorescence. Then we have true fruits developing from the ovary. For example, the bean fruit. These true fruits can be divided into two. We have fleshy, which are also called succulent fruits, and include berries and drupes. Then apart from fleshy fruits, we have dry fruits. So dry fruits are divided into two again. We have dehiscent, which split open to release the seed, and you also have the other type, indehiscent, which do not split open. We can use this table quickly. So we have a fleshy fruit. Here, a berry is a type of fleshy fruit. We have a drupe, which is also a type of fleshy fruit. So for the berry, the ovary is fleshy. It is juicy and has many seeds. As in the case of tomato, you can see it is even sodom or apple, they have many seeds. Then we have drupe. Here, the outer is fleshy and the inner is hard, and it only has one seed. For example, mangoes have one seed. We have these type of dry fruit which are dehiscent. Here, the ovary wall is thin and contains many seeds, and it breaks open when it is ripe. For example, the beans and the pea. Okay, we have the one called schizocarp. These one are also dehiscent or dry, and when the fruit is ripe, it breaks up into small parts with one seed. For instance, the castor oil. We have this type of fruit called caryopsis, which are dry. Then the pericarp and the seed coat are fused to form a thin covering. For example, the maize. And then we also have the capsella or cypsella. They are also dry, and here they have one seed, and the calyx persist. For instance, in a blackjack. So these ones are dry dehiscent fruits. We move to dry fruits which are indehiscent. They do not split. For instance, the pome. The outer is fleshy and develops from the calyx and the receptacle. For instance, the pears and the apple fruits. We have the multiple fruits which are formed from the several flowers. For instance, the pineapple. And then we have the achene. So that how fruits are classified. We have those ones that are fleshy. We have those ones that are dry. And those that are dry, there are those that can split, and there are those that cannot split. So we look next is placentation. And placentation refers to arrangement of the ovules in an ovary. So this is the ovary, and these are the ovules that develop into seeds. So how are they arranged? So we have various types. For instance, the marginal. The placenta appears as one ridge on the ovary wall. For instance, the bean. Yeah? So the ovules are arranged along a margin or a ridge. That one. Then we have parietal placentation here. The placenta is on the ridges on the wall. So there are points called ridges where the placenta is fixed. And in these ridges in the ovary wall, or where we have the placenta, we have the ovules. For instance, in the pawpaw. Then we have the axial placentation, and the placenta is at the center, you can see, and ovary is divided into a number of loculi. So these are the loculi. For instance, in the orange or even lemon and some others. Then we have the basal. Here you can see the base. The placenta is formed at the base of the ovary. So for instance, sunflower. We have free central placentation. So the placenta is at the center of the ovary, and there are no loculi. For instance, in axial placentation, you see axial, there are these subdivisions called the loculi, but in free placentation or free central placentation, there are no loculi. Then we want to look at method of fruit and seed dispersal. We have various methods of seed and fruit dispersal. First, we have animal dispersal, and these seeds that are dispersed by animals are fleshy, or they are succulent, to be eaten by animals. For example, guava, for example, mangoes. You eat them and then you throw them. So that is dispersal. So dispersal actually enables the seeds to be and fruits to be put far away from the parent cell, so that they avoid congestion and competition for limited resources like water and sunlight. So animals are attracted to the fruits by the bright color and even the smell, and that the fact that these fruits are also edible, we can eat them. The seeds pass through the digestive tract undamaged and are passed out with feces. For example, the seeds of tomatoes and guavas. So the seed coats are not digested. So the seed coats of these seeds are hard and cannot be digested by the digestive enzymes in the tract. So such seeds have hard, resistant seed coats, and other fruits have hooks or spines that stick on animal fur or on cloth. Later, the seeds are brushed off or fall off on their own. For example, blackjack. So these ones stick on the cloth or even on the fur of animals. Then they are brushed off and deposited on that ground. They germinate away from the parent cell. We have those that are dispersed by wind. Such fruits and seeds are small and light in order to be buoyant, so that they can be carried by air current. For instance, a fruit that is capsule like tobacco split or has spores at the top. For example, the Mexican poppy plant. So the capsule is attached to a long stalk, such that when the stalk is swayed or swept by the wind, the seeds are released and then distributed. So they have been dispersed away from the parent cell or the parent plant. Some seeds also have they have hairy or some hairs or feather-like structures, so that it increases the surface area to be easily blown off by the wind. For instance, this plant called the sonchas, so they have some small projections like hairs, so that they can be blown by wind. Others have wing-like structures, for instance, the jacaranda and the Nandi flame. These extensions, which are wing-like, increase the surface area for fruits and seeds, so that they can be carried by wind. We have also dispersal by water. Fruits like coconut have fibrous mesocarp, which is spongy to trap air. So when it is spongy, like there are air spaces, these air spaces trap air, and they make the fruit light and buoyant, so that it can float on water. Plants, such plants actually which have fibrous mesocarp include the coconut. We have seen the coconut floating on water, so that water currents can carry it far away from the parent cell. Then plants like a water lily produce seeds whose seed coats trap air bubbles. The air bubbles make the seed float on water and are carried away. So they are buoyant. The pericarp and the seed coat are waterproof, meaning water cannot soak to penetrate so that they become heavy and sink. So that is why they float on water. After looking at water dispersal, we can have another type of dispersal called self-dispersal or explosive mechanism. And this is seen in pods like the bee and the bean and the pea. There is pressure inside the pod that forces that pod to open along sides of weakness, which are called sutuous, throwing the seeds away from the parent plant. So those lines of weakness, when forced from inside by pressure, they split or explode, throwing away the seeds from the parent cell. You may have seen beans being harvested. When they are being dried on a sun, they usually spit twa. So that is pressure from inside forcing those pods to open along the lines of weakness called the sutuous. We are done with that part. Here is an assignment for a wonderful student who will test himself or herself with quizzes, and definitely research from the notes and even from other sources, and even hold discussions. If not so, contact CollarNet in case of any difficulty. Goodbye. Meet you in the next lesson.